This week's list covers empires of Mesopotamia. Sumer was the world's first civilization, but soon more complex forms of government were created by even more ambitious men. In this video, I will discuss the definition of the word empire. I will also highlight the four empires of Mesopotamia after the Sumerians. These include the Akkadians, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, and the Neo-Babylonians. The first topic on this list is the word empire. Although the first civilization was Sumer, Sumer did not become an empire. In the last video, I explained what a civilization is, but what is an empire? According to the dictionary, an empire is a group of nations or peoples controlled by a single ruler or government. Examples of this are the British Empire, the Mongol Empire, and the Roman Empire. The first empire ever was the Akkadian Empire, and it was located in Mesopotamia. The second topic on this week's list is the Akkadian Empire. King Sargon was the most famous ruler of the Akkadians. His armies destroyed the walls of his enemies, and the Akkadians collected tribute after being victorious in battle. The empire was known for creating its own language, and its artists created carved bas-reliefs. A famous victory stele shows the Akkadian king trampling his enemies. This is known as the victory stele of Naram-Sin. The capital of the Akkadian Empire was Agad, and it was located in the heart of Mesopotamia. The Akkadians fell to invaders from the north and the east. The third topic on this week's list is Babylonia. Hammurabi is the most famous ruler of the Babylonians. He created a code of law that applied to everyone in his empire. Trade and agriculture thrived under his stable rule of law. Hammurabi's code was carved on a black stele so that all people would know the law. The capital of Babylonia was Babylon. The Babylonian Empire was very old. For example, Hammurabi ruled almost 1800 years before Christ. The empire was well connected with roads and a postal service as well. Fourth on the list is the Assyrians. The Assyrians were a warlike people that eventually conquered the lands of Babylonia. Their capital was Nineveh in the northern part of Mesopotamia. Their greatest achievements were in their new weapons and war strategies. They used horses and iron weapons in battle, giving them an advantage over their enemies. At its peak, the Assyrian Empire extended from Egypt to the Persian Gulf. The Assyrians also mastered siege warfare, which is a tactic where an army surrounds the position of its enemy. Many Assyrian palaces had statues of winged bulls or lions with human heads. These were probably built to honor their leaders. An alliance between the Medes, Babylonians, and Scythians overthrew the Assyrian leaders in 612 BCE. Last of the four Mesopotamian empires is Neo-Babylonia. We probably remember the Neo-Babylonian Empire best for the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which was considered one of the seven wonders of the ancient world by the Greeks. Perhaps the most famous king of the Neo-Babylonians was Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar battled the Egyptians and conquered part of Canaan. He took the Israelites captive and brought them back to Babylon. This is known as the Babylonian captivity. Eventually, the conquerors became the conquered when the Babylonians were defeated by the Persian Empire led by King Cyrus the Great in 539 BCE. Later, the Greeks conquered the Persians under Alexander the Great. In review, this week's Peppy list covered 5 important terms. We covered the definition of empire and 4 Mesopotamian civilizations: the Akkadians, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, and the Neo-Babylonians.